I was mortified. I was just like, what
That's
do I even
wild.
do? My mom had gone back to school about the time that I'd met Idris, so she wanted to get better at writing in English, and she'd taken some courses. And one of the projects that she had done was to pick someone in the public eye and write a piece on them.
No. I know where this... No.
This is at the cusp that we had just met. I had no idea that she had just done this project, okay?
Okay.
She hangs it on our fridge because she gets like an A+. And it is like so sweet, right? Because she's like, I used to hang your guys' stuff up. I'm hanging my stuff. And it is an essay on Idris.
Oh my goodness.
So funny. And we'd been like a month and a half in at this point. But then an even crazier thing happened. I hadn't intended for them to meet so quickly initially because it's quite a big deal to bring someone home to a Somali family. I mean, you know, it's marriage first. It's just dating isn't really a thing. You got to know, and when you know, it's like, all right, let's do it. So I went to pick her up, and on the way home, I realized I'd had one of Idris's belongings. Can't even remember what it was. I think it was like a notebook that he had at the time. So I'd stopped off at his trailer, and I said, "Mom, I just have to drop something off to a friend." So I go this way. He goes this way. My mom, having just written a piece on him, of course, instantly recognizes him and gets out of the car. She's like, oh, hi. And he's like, hi. And she's like, oh, I just wrote a piece on you. And then she sees me come back around mortified and she's like, what? She's like, you're here for him?
And Idris doesn't know that that's your mom?
No, but he
Oh
said
my
she looked
God.
so much like me that he just was like, oh shit. And looking back, I mean, I was mortified. I was just like, what do I even do? I was like, well, Mom, this is my friend. She goes, this is your friend. I'm like, yeah, this is my new friend. She's like, uh-huh.
Wow.
We get back in the car. It was almost a silent journey on the way home. Like we giggled at the beginning of it. And I could just see her like thinking.
Yeah.
Like, so that's why you weren't home. Okay. So that's what you've been doing for the last, okay. Oh, okay. Oh. Like, just like going through it right in front of me. And I was just like laughing. Like it was so funny. And great now because it saved the awkwardness, right? Like
Yes.
it just happened. You didn't have to plan it or anything. But it is quite funny thinking back on it.
That's hilarious. And having written an essay about him, obviously she knew that he was a good prospect.
What
for
are the
her daughter.
chances? She picks him of all people.
It's like she manifested it.
Yeah. And it's funny because she knew more who he was than I did because she'd just done this whole background research, but she'd watched the Mandela film.
Wow.
And it really inspired her to write this piece. And it's so funny now. And I still tease her about it. I'm like, well, you know him more than I do, so.
That's amazing. So I'm guessing they get on very well.
They do. Yeah,
Yeah.
they do. Idris is good with everyone.
Oh.
I know. I'm so thankful because I have such a close-knit group of friends. And like, he's the guy that's like just in the friend group. And like, he's so good. He's a good egg.
It's so lovely to hear someone talk so highly about their romantic partner. And
Do you usually get the opposite?
no, well, I'm just trying to think.
You should hear me on some days.
It's funny because I speak like that about my husband.
Right.
And I think obviously he's a great person, but I think for both of us it's a second marriage, and so there's an element of like we're so grateful to have found each other.
But that's kind of beautiful.
It is beautiful. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. And we met on an app, and actually
Oh,
that was
nice.
sort of really romantic in a way I hadn't anticipated because we were both intentional about what we wanted. And
That's
but
very cute.
you two talk a lot about being a couple on Coupledom,
Right.
which is your hit podcast. And you've interviewed some amazing people, Kris Jenner, Ben and Jerry of Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream.
Love them.
I know. And I
That
just
was my favorite
wondered,
episode.
what do you think are the top insights, the top sort of 3 insights that you've got from interviewing other couples about how to be a couple yourself?
You know, we learned really good things on that episode. But a friend said something even more interesting to me, like literally as I was just on holiday and she happened to be there. And I was like, what's the secret? Because you guys have been married forever. She's someone who'd been in a long relationship. And she said, not wanting to leave each other at the same time.
Yes.
I was like,
Helpful.
oh, I hadn't quite thought of that. And it was so funny the way she just blurted it out. I was like, that is a very good point. It's about supporting each other when you're at your lowest, right? And everything that's frustrating in the world comes out at your partner, and you think that it's the time, and it's like, it's you, and reminding them that no, this isn't a relationship, and being that for them through that. Just so hard to do when you have an ego, especially, right? Like for anyone, it's extremely hard to do. But I realized that that's actually a very good point. And I mean, it sounds quite maybe crass or like not very nice, but it's not as, you know, it doesn't need to be as angry as that. It could be little moments where you can just tell someone's distancing themselves a bit. we should support each other as couples and bring each other back and remind each other why we're so happy to be together. And I loved that. But I learned a lot on the podcast as well about business, and that Ben and Jerry's episode, I think, shaped a lot of the way that I look at business, particularly when they said, business is just a tool. It's not inherently bad or good. What you do with it and how you shape it makes it good or bad. And I loved that because we wanted to start this business with all of our ethics and morals and feelings about the world entrenched in it, so that it was a representation of us. We never wanted to create something that would contribute negatively to the world. So that really resonated with me as well. And I'm so thankful we did it. And we want to do it again. It's been really hard, as you know, making time when you have guests on episodes and scheduling. So we've had a bit of a hard time trying to get the next season off of its feet. But I learned so much. And at the cusp where we were newlyweds, so like soaking in all this information with nothing better to do during COVID.
Yes.
Right. And I loved it. I genuinely love the experience. I'm envious of every podcaster because I'm like, I want to do it again.
Oh, it's such a privilege to get to ask a lot of questions.
Yes. No, it
and
really
listen.
is. We learn so much from each other as human beings. I think people forget that when we are in isolation, we are failing ourselves. It is so important to connect with people, just to even hear an experience you've never heard so that you can question yours.
Yeah.
It's so important. And yeah, I think, kudos to what you do because it's an important job.
Thank you. Well, I could not agree more about the power of connection. And before we get on to your failures, your lessons, you mentioned in passing that you were the only Black person in your high school.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was kind of like you don't know you're in it until someone tells you you're in it.
Yeah.
And there'd been moments where someone mentioned, I'd be like, oh, all right. Oh, yeah. And also, like, it kind of maybe shaped my views of wellness and beauty, and in a bit where I was always I didn't have the right representation around me at the time, that I was trying to conform to something else and look a particular way to a standard that wasn't necessarily set by myself. So in some ways is frustrating, but in other ways, I mean, it was such a diverse group of people. I was the only Black person, but it's not like it was a majority other. Me and my friends literally look like the UN. Like, we are so diverse, and I love that too.
Thanks for tuning in. And if you found this video enjoyable, be sure to check out the full episode on your preferred podcast platform. And make sure you're following How to Fail on social media for additional content and updates.